Now remember, the entire escalation that has been witnessed today is because of the confirmation that Iran's supreme leader Khamenei was confirmed to have been eliminated in the Saturday morning opening shots of Epic Fury and Roaring Lion. I want to show you the sequence of events. I've used some AI generated imagery to try and depict for you what those final moments actually look like. There was an intelligence breakthrough where Israeli intelligence detected this high-level Tehran meeting. They had gotten those final inputs from the American CIA. Now, Ali Khamenei, who is the supreme leader, was meeting his top aides on Saturday morning. That was the clinching piece of intelligence that was handed over by the CIA to the Israeli armed forces. Defense Minister Amir Naseerzadeh was present during this meeting. IRGC Commander Mohammad Pakpor was also in attendance in this particular meeting with the Supreme Commander. Strike plan was advanced. It was supposed to happen on Saturday evening, but it was pulled forward because that was the time when all of these leaders would be in the same room. Original evening strike was moved forward to early morning. A decision was taken to ensure that all the targets were present. Operation was classified as a decapitation strike, which meant that this would be a brutal surgical assault from the air using that target data to ensure that Khamenei and at least some of the other commanders who were with him in that huddle would also be instantly taken out. So this was a joint Israeli-US military coordinated mission where the intelligence came from the United States and the execution was by the Israeli Air Force. There was an aerial assault. Heavy pinpoint aerial bombardment was then launched using F-35 or F-15 fighters. It was uncontested airspace because the air defense over Tehran was completely absent. Aircraft reportedly used were F-35 and F-15 Strike Eagle fighters. Multiple bunker buster munitions, including something called the GBU-28, were reportedly deployed for the final hits on those areas because it was believed that Syed Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, may have been in an underground or subterranean meeting room with his commanders. Direct hits on the high security compound. The compound was completely destroyed in this attack. One of the videos, which was unconnected to what we are depicting, seems to suggest that. Now, the leader's compound was completely leveled. This is American satellite imagery that has later been released, which shows massive structural collapse, which means the entire compound was completely razed to the ground. This satellite imagery shows that destruction. The strike precision has been described as surgical, which means nothing around it has been very much harmed. So it was only that particular compound which has been completely razed to the ground. Initial denial. Now, Iranian officials claimed on Saturday that Khamenei, the supreme leader, was safe and sound, but obviously this was not true. Initially, they needed to contain that information from coming out. Reports were aimed at preventing public panic in a country that was under attack. There were conflicting signals from the capital city of Iran in Tehran in the early hours of Saturday as Epic Fury intensified. But there was a confirmation finally where Israeli officials late last night, early this morning, claimed that body images of Khamenei had been received. They had been viewed by Prime Minister Netanyahu in Israel as well. Iranian state media then confirmed the killing early this morning. So early this morning India time is when that confirmation finally came in. Vishnu, bringing you back in on this, images of the Khamenei's body were apparently reviewed. I'm sure that must have happened at the highest of levels, to confirm the kill. It was post that the Iranian government then, provided that confirmation. Everything has flowed since then. But the big takeaway from all of this, Vishnu, is that the opening minutes probably of Epic Fury is when the supreme leader was taken out.
I was woken up by the office this morning, Shiv, at about 6 a.m. or 6:20 this morning, and I was told that we need you live on air right now. I said, why? And they said that the supreme leader has been eliminated. And to me, it sounded almost unbelievable because everything that we'd reported yesterday seemed to suggest that he'd been taken to an underground bunker, a safe spot, and he was okay. But the volume and the intensity of those strikes were absolutely incredible. And the intelligence which actually actually went into those operations, whether it's human intelligence or whether it's satellite-based intelligence, electronic intelligence, it all came together. Now, how advanced are the CIA and the Mossad? The former president of Iran, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who I believe has also been killed in these attacks, said something which gives you an idea of the capability of Mossad in extracting information. It's a short sentence, I'll just read it out. He said, Iran's intelligence service created a special unit tasked with identifying Mossad agents operating inside Iran. They did this a few years back. However, it later turned out that the head of this very unit was himself a Mossad operative, along with 20 other agents. So that is the level of intelligence operations Israel has done and the CIA has done. Remember, they have the ability of picking up conversations from the air, running these conversations through AI to get trends and patterns, and that same Anthropic software Claude is being used by the CIA and other agencies presumably to give America the intelligence information, the processing information they need to carry out these strikes. The strikes themselves were brought forward. This is next generation warfare. It's not even sci-fi, because we've not seen stuff like this in sci-fi. It is real, and it is frankly unbelievable.
How AI was deployed in Operation Epic Fury is going to be a book by itself, and I'm sure all analysts, commentators will be looking very closely at how Anthropic and perhaps other AI models, Vishnu, have been deployed, because we can be sure that they've been deployed, as you rightly said, not just in the execution of the operation, but in the build-up, in the intelligence collation already. We're seeing this ugly war that's happening right now between AI industry and the Pentagon as well. It's an incredibly exciting space to look out for. And in fact, at 9:30, we have John Spencer joining us, and it's a question that we'll be putting to him as well, Vishnu. I'm sure he's got views on that. He's one of America's foremost warfare specialists, and he makes it his business to look into this aspect of modern warfare. But we've got some breaking news coming in now. Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel has just said, this is a fresh statement from the Israeli Prime Minister, Vishnu. He says, our forces are now striking at the heart of Tehran with increasing intensity, and this will only intensify further in the coming days. We are in a campaign in which we are bringing the full power of the IDF, that is the Israeli Defense Forces, to bear as never before in order to ensure our existence and our future. He continues and he says the combined effort with the United States enables us to do what I have long sought to do for 40 years, to decisively strike the terror regime. Very interesting a statement from Netanyahu, Vishnu. He draws on his own career and he says it's something that I have sought to do for 40 years. His career in the armed forces of Israel are well known, but he's made this personal almost, Vishnu.
No, absolutely. But look, it's personal on either side. If you look at what Iranian leaders like Mr. Larijani are saying that they're going to burn the Israelis, he's used different words. And if you look at what Netanyahu is saying, we are talking about rhetoric at the highest level. But it has to be said, it's been matched by military action on both sides. Look, Shiv, at the end of the day, Iran will not be able to stand up long enough to the weight of the attacks from the US and Israel. No chance. It's a question of time. I think the larger issue at this stage is then what, as we've been talking throughout the day. But as far as the military strikes themselves are concerned, let me just talk or introduce 2 or 3 points very, very briefly. Number one, the ability of intelligence to actually target 40 plus Iranian leaders unmatched. That's intelligence plus military capability. Number two, the increasing advancement of Israeli ballistic missiles, which appear to have the ability of maneuvering in their terminal phase, making it much more difficult to intercept. Number three, the ability of the Iranians to actually try and target the American carrier battle group, albeit unsuccessfully, means that they believe they have the systems which can target a moving ship in water. How are they actually targeting that? Where are they getting that data? Is it Chinese satellite assistance? These are 3 small areas, Shiv, that we need to look at as this battle, as this war continues to redefine warfare at so many levels.
Extremely important points that you've just made there. And Netanyahu, who has made two televised addresses already today, will probably make one tomorrow as well as we stretch into day three. But he said something very strident. He says they're going to continue to hit the heart of Iran, until, and you've seen that statement from Netanyahu at this point of time. I want to bring in our guest tonight, Vishnu. We're joined tonight by Hale Blake. She's a British Iranian activist. Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti, former secretary with India's External Affairs Ministry, and Spencer Critchley, who's a senior journalist and author. Welcome to all of you. Hale, if I could come to you first. We've just read out to you what the Prime Minister of Israel has said. It's his second statement of the day. Iran has obviously signaled that it is not taking things sitting down. It has attacked multiple bases of the United States. It has hit a city in Israel as well where casualties have been inflicted. How do you see this playing out? Hale, to you first.
Well, the regime cannot control a conflict inside and outside at the same time. Whilst its forces are crumbling, there's obviously news of tens of thousands of their forces defecting, as it was confirmed by IRGC commanders only this week. So I don't think the Islamic Republic can prolong this itself, because the people are also ready to come out, take back the streets and take back their institutions, but they just need that playing field equalized. I don't see them being able to get out of this at all. I don't think there's any way going back.
But Hale, the other way of looking at it is that the Revolutionary Guard in Iran continues to fight. I mean, they are fighting at every level. They have not disbanded. They've not given up, their arms. They continue to be the dominant factor militarily in the country, at least for the moment. Is that what you had expected? Or, do you expect this to continue for a short period of time, or do you actually see this happening for a longer period of time? Because unless there is a change in the Revolutionary Guard, lock, stock and barrel, I doubt the conditions on the ground would actually allow regime change to take place.
Well, as an activist, I did expect the missiles that we saw going into different countries yesterday. We knew the regime might attempt to do something like that. We also expected to see this level of attacks that we were seeing today. We think this is perhaps their last attempt at regaining and remaining in power, and this is their sort of last attempts. They are weak. They are crumbling. Obviously, their commanders are getting assassinated right, left, and center. And as you see, people are celebrating. So they're just, at the end of the day, the people will eventually have the power to take over.
Spencer, if I could come to you right now, there are missiles flying over the Persian Gulf between the US Navy and what's left of the Iranian Navy at this point of time. So at least for the moment, the military aspect of this operation is very much still in motion. Iran has just issued statements saying that this is just the beginning and they're going to target more things. They have managed to hit some bases right now. From the US administration's perspective, could you throw some light on what you believe the end game of this is going to be? Trump has issued a pretty lengthy statement yesterday when he talked about how regime change is pretty much what he's aiming for. How do you think this plays out from Trump's perspective? What does he want?
Well, this is one of my main concerns with this operation. I have no sympathy for the Iranian regime, which has been just brutally repressive against its own people, let alone people in the region and throughout the world through its active sponsorship and organization of terrorism. But at the same time, I'm afraid I have no confidence in Donald Trump. He changes his justification for anything he does from one moment to the next, apparently without any concern about any kind of coherence, consistency, or strategic vision. And when you ask him, how he sees things working out on almost any major issue, his typical reply is, "We'll see what happens." And that seems to be his strategy here. I have to hope that not everybody in the United States government has become as rash and impulsive and ignorant, frankly, as the commander-in-chief. And I have to hope that there's, similar knowledge and expertise at work among the Israelis. On the other hand, even with far more qualified U.S. administrations in the past, I can't think of a single example of attempted regime change that has worked out well. If change is going to come to Iran, and I certainly hope it does, it has to come from the people of Iran ultimately.
Ambassador Pinakaranjan Chakravarti, in fact, we're speaking about Donald Trump. There's just a statement of his that's come in. He says, and I quote, "We are doing our job not just for us, but for the world, and everything is ahead of schedule." So things are evolving in a very positive way right now, a very positive way. So, I mean, it's typical Trump bombast, but if you actually look at the manner in which they are conducting their military operations and the fact that they've made they've eliminated so many leaders, it's perhaps a script which is playing out. We'll have to wait and see. But my question to you, Ambassador, is this. What guarantee at this stage does anybody have that a new regime in Iran will be pro-America or will work with Israel? It could be a different government, but it won't necessarily be pro-America. What guarantee is there of that?
Well, first of all, let me say that we have not seen a regime change. It's the same regime with different players.
Correct.
I mean, you have eliminated only one leader, and they have a system where some other leader will come up, and they have. So I think soon you will have another leader who will carry on with the same regime. Now, look, regime change cannot be achieved by bombing a few people and killing one leader. It has to come from the people, and it has to gather traction and momentum within the country. Like we have seen, say, in Bangladesh, Nepal, and earlier in Sri Lanka, where, people actually, captured government buildings, captured the president's office, etc., and the leaders had to flee. Now, that's not going to happen in Iran, I think, because it's a much more broad-based government. There are different arms of that government, which will ensure that, and they have already showed that they have no qualms in killing their own people when it comes to quelling demonstrators and others. So I think that is also an aspect that they will go to any extent, I think, to quell any civil strife that will happen, without, of course, underplaying the fact that there are enough people in Iran who don't like this government and they would like to see the back of it. But I don't think that stage has been reached yet. And I think this government or this regime or the clerical establishment is not going to give up so quickly. They have the wherewithal. They have the various arms, military, security, and others who will ensure that they remain in place. As for the conflict itself, they have a losing hand. I don't think the Iranians, and I think they know it also. How long can they go ahead with it? This point is that the Americans are giving backup. It's the Israelis who are in the forefront. There are 200 aircraft. I don't know how many Israelis and how many were American, which conducted the first strikes. It's interesting that, I don't know, the mix, I'm not aware.
Okay, interesting. And, we're getting more information about that. Perhaps there will be some more information in the days ahead, and especially with the Trump administration where, protocol is not really protocol. You can expect explicit details of the kind that you usually don't expect when it comes to covert military operations of this kind. But, since we are talking about what's going on inside Iran, one aspect is the military aspect. Iran has demonstrated that it is capable of launching attacks far from its soil, and it has continued to do so today. The other aspect is now that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead, who will succeed him? Watch this report. This is as much as we know at this time.
With the killing of its supreme leader Ali Khamenei, Iran is faced with a rare situation: leadership change. Khamenei defined Iran for decades and held the most powerful position, overseeing the military, judiciary, intelligence services, and direction of foreign policy. Under Iran's constitution, an 88-member assembly of experts, a body of senior Shia clerics, is responsible for choosing the next supreme leader. This body convenes in secret and must pick a successor as soon as possible. A temporary leadership council comprised of the president, the judiciary head, and a member chosen by the Expediency Council will carry out the duties of the supreme leader until a new one is formally chosen. This council now serves as de facto head of state until succession concludes. Several names are going around as possible Khamenei successor. On top of the list is Khamenei's son, Mojtaba Khamenei. Then there is Ayatollah Alireza Arafi, a senior cleric and respected figure in religious circles. Also in contention will be Mohammad Mehdi Mirbagheri, a hardline religious figure. Moderate cleric and grandson of revolutionary founder Ayatollah Khamenei, Hassan Khamenei, may also emerge as a consensus candidate. Leadership change in Iran is rare, only the second since 1979. How NDTV Bureau Report.
We're joined now by our friend and one of the most well-regarded urban warfare experts, John Spencer, who's live with us. John, good to have you on this unfolding story, a piece of history that has taken place. The warfare is actually unfolding even as we bring our viewers this broadcast. But I want to first ask you, before we talk about what lies ahead, John, I want to ask you about your assessment of the operation so far. Epic Fury, Roaring Lion, what did you think of it? John, welcome.
Hi, Shiv and Vishnu. It's great to see you guys. I wish we could meet under other circumstances. But so far in the opening 24 hours, just a very precision, systematic and surprising operation. Although the Israelis were able to achieve air supremacy in the first 10 to 12 hours of the last operation, the 12-day war, it seems to be that the United States and Israel achieved air supremacy immediately, doing this daring daytime attack based on the intelligence of the Iranian senior leader, having a meeting, but then to continue that, the massive amounts of ordnance that have been dropped, the B-2 bomber has been used, over 900 targets from the U.S. Or Israel, and 500 plus more others. It's impressive, but like you were just talking, the amount of counteraction that Iran has taken almost to every neighboring nation, Arab nation, and hundreds of cruise and ballistic missiles and drones sent at these countries that weren't even involved. I'm surprised at that. It almost doesn't, for me, it's not a rational move by the Islamic regime. Not sure who's in charge right now, with the Minister of Defense killed, the new head of the IRGC, who's only been in for a couple of months, 40 senior leaders. And if you remember, Shiv, during the 12-day war, 30 Iranian senior leaders were killed. So this is another 40. It's impressive. A lot of surprises and a lot waiting to see. I know you talked about the Straits of Hormuz, that being a very strong interest. And I stayed up to watch the president's comments, which I think are very important. A lot of people speculate about what the United States and Israel's goals are. If you go to President Trump's speech, it's very specified on what the tasks are and how regime change is a byproduct, but it's not a regime change operation, because very few times has that happened by air alone to have worked.
But John, tell me, are you surprised at the volume and the firepower of the Iranians, who clearly continue to fight?
No, not necessarily. We knew after the 12-day war that they were 24 hours, 7 days a week, trying to get their ballistic missile program back up and running, believed to have 2,500 missiles. It's a very large country, as you know, and the ability for the United States and Israel to eliminate that ability to counter attack completely But it seems to be, and this is why, while they have sent over 100 missiles towards Israel, it's nothing compared to what they did in April of 2024, October of 2024, and June of 2025. It seems to be that they are basically taking not the easy targets. There's nothing easy in war, but the closer range targets like UAE, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. They even fired a shot at Jordan, which is a lot farther away. I'm not surprised that they still have capability. You never underestimate your enemy. I don't know how much longer they'll have this capability. And again, to attack all these other countries, it's almost like self-defeating, because they, to this day, even after attack, have stayed out of joining the operation, as in allowing their bases to be used or contributing aircraft or munitions. So I'm not surprised that I thought it would be much worse, to be frank.
Do you think there will be more offensive operations of the kind that Trump and Netanyahu are threatening to execute, John, inside Iran, even as the Islamic regime, threatens to escalate things even further? Like you pointed out, they have demonstrated the ability to hit targets in Qatar, in Kuwait. We've got fresh pictures coming in from Kuwait right now, in Bahrain, in the United Arab Emirates as well. And these are US targets that have been hit by Iran. So do you see combat continuing inside Iran from Israel and the US?
Absolutely. I don't think we'll see the end of this for days, weeks. And an Israeli-led operation during the 12-day war, which was expansive and achieved a lot, is nothing compared to a U.S.-led operation. I mean, in the opening 24 hours, they've dropped probably, and I know Vishnu is the air power guy that could inform me, but during the Persian Gulf War, the 43-day war, the United States put up 160,000 sorties, dropping over 250 bombs and missiles. A U.S.-led operation is night and day to what was seen in the past of an Israeli-led operation. The United States could unleash a lot more, and I think that's going to continue, but very precision, very systematic, as the goal, of course, is not to target civilians, unlike some of the civilian targets that you just talked about being hit in some of these countries. These precision targets, and I mean, there are many, from missile launchers to the IRGC headquarters was hit. The amount of sorties and bombs that the United States could put on top of Iran, especially having air supremacy, it appears right now, is, I think, more than most people can remember. And I would point them back to the Persian Gulf 43-day war.
John, my sense is that it's just a matter of time before Iran runs out of ballistic missiles. America should be able to outlast them. Also, Iran, even though they are expending their interceptor missiles at a very, very fast pace indeed. But the cynic in me says that since Israel and America are not indiscriminately targeting or hitting every place in Iran, they're only taking out select military targets. That alone may not set the conditions for a groundswell to enact real change. The Iranians of today, got a provisional government in place. They're going to be naming their big leader in the next 24, 48 hours. I get that they're going to be militarily striking non-stop, but since they aren't indiscriminately striking, how is there going to be regime change?
Yeah, it's a great question. And this is, I think, the combined power of Israel and the United States can't be underestimated. And what Israel brings to the table is that deep intelligence penetration and capabilities that they showed during the 12-day war, right? They texted the entire senior command of the IRGC to have a meeting, thinking, and they thought it was themselves, and then Israel blew up that meeting and killing over 20 senior leaders. I wouldn't want to be an Iranian leader making my name the new leadership. We saw during the 12-day war, if a general was assigned, that general's replacement was killed. So I think these continued decapitation strikes will progress and continue, and we have seen that. Plus the CIA and the Mossad working heavily to try to get to those different powers and fractures even within the IRGC, from the old guard to the new guard, getting defectors to potentially be a part of something new, which is a part of these type of large-scale operations and what you'd want to see. So I don't think military targets are the only thing on this target list. I think all of these leaders, and there's a lot of psychological warfare as well going on, saying, look, you're next, you probably should leave the country, things like that doesn't always make the news, but we know it's happening.
Final question, John. Do you see this as when you said combat will continue for the next few days, it's going to be in the nature of what we've seen over the last couple of days, mostly these limited exchanges, or do you see a significant escalation?
No, I think that what is currently happening, although increasing in the defensive capabilities, so to protect our allies, the Gulf states, all American allies with American installations, and not they are targeting like all of the airports in these countries. I think you'll see potentially more defensive weapons, but the offensive weapons, the precision of them, and basically the missile launching hunting operation, the senior leader hunting operation. I don't know if the numbers of sorties and the numbers of bombings will drop, but I think it's working, right? I think it's been pretty effective. We heard two different names of the potential stand-in government. We had the Iranian version of Baghdad Bob yesterday morning, was basically saying nobody's dead, everything's okay. I think they're trying to put on a good front, but I think the operations would continue like we're seeing, 24-hour precision strikes against anything that can be seen by a vast array of satellites that the United States and now Israel has over Iran.
Let's go back to, thanks very much, John. I just wanted to go back to Pinak, Ranjan Chakravarti. Ambassador Chakravarti, what does India do in a situation like this? And we've got so many people in that region, 9 million plus.
I can only hope that this comes to a halt very quickly, because we have too much at stake in this country. Almost 9 million people working there. Our trading partners, very important trading partners. 30%, I think, of our oil and gas comes from there. So we are in a difficult spot, I think. And I think the government has to get into action to persuade these countries to finish it off quickly, whatever they want, and, stop the hostilities and let things getting back to normal. Indians are stuck in Iran, and it's difficult to get them out there. So all this will cause internal domestic problems as well, with the government coming under pressure to evacuate, Indians. Can you imagine evacuating millions of Indians who are there? It's a huge responsibility. And though we have contingency plans for doing this, and we have great experience having done it before from the same region, actually. But I think it's not that simple, but with the hostility, because the hostilities for those who are fighting, or Israel, America, Iran, their own interests will override the interests of other countries. So it's a very difficult situation, but we have to do what we have to do in the sense of providing relief to our citizens if necessary. And of course, start talking to them, and I think that has already been done. Look, this is not going to end in anybody's, with a winner in that sense. And although some countries like Israel may feel that they have won because they have, destroyed Iran's certain capabilities, but 10 years down the line, Iran is not a country with a very it has a lot of depth, both civilizationally and technically, and their people have a great deal of nationalism. So even if it happens that they get destroyed at the moment, with their facilities get destroyed, how long? 10 years, 15 years from now, they can rebuild it again. So we are back to square one.
Yeah.